Hi guys, it's Erin from Ginger's Florals. Today's kind of a cool day. We have a couple different sets of seeds that we're actually going to start. The first of which is some flowering kale. This is for late in the season this season. Right now it's the middle of June and there's about 3 months left in my farmer's market, and I want to have some flowering kale towards the end of the season. At the end of the season, when everything else starts to whimper out, hopefully these guys will be able to take up that role at the very end, so I still have flowers to the end of the farmer's market and into maybe a little bit more in the wholesale market. The varieties are crane variety. They're pink, red, and white. I've grown them before. I might actually even be a little bit late on getting these started, but they should be able to grow and get big enough that I can use them this season. I do have enough seed that I'll also have some for next season as well. And these guys, even if I don't get to use them as the flowers, I do intend to leave them in the ground over the winter, and then when they bloom in the next spring, the flowers that they produce, I'll be able to use. These make really beautiful cut flower. The head of the crown of the kale plant looks like a really beautiful flower, and the cooler the weather gets, the more vibrant the colors become. If you looked at a big head of cabbage, it looks like a mini version of that, and they make really beautiful cut flower stems. So we're going to plant 3 trays of these. Give them, it should be a couple of weeks before they're up and ready to be planted out, and then I'm going to get them all in the ground out at the south end of the field. The other seeds that we're going to plant today, it's kind of crazy, but believe it or not, it's time to start sowing seeds for next season. Right now, it's time for us to start our biennial flowers. I've done videos in the past talking about what a biennial is, but and I'll see if I can link one down below, but the general gist of it is that biennials, they're the type of flower like foxglove. I've got Canterbury bells and sweet rocket that I'm going to do today, but they basically, it's a 2-year cycle for them to bloom. The first year in the wild, they will drop seed. After they bloom, set seed, they'll drop seed. And then that next season, they will create just a tuft of green, just foliage, and build their root base. And at the end after a whole season just getting that plant established, the next season, they'll shoot up bloom spikes and bloom that season in order to get pollinated and set seed again. So it would be 2 years. The seeds fall this year, all next season, they just sit there and grow greenery, and then the following season, they bloom. So what we're trying to do is to sort of bypass that 2-year cycle. Right now, if you looked out in the fields, my foxglove, the wild foxglove, they are blooming right now. But they won't drop their seed for, probably another month or 2. Because they've got to develop, they're still blooming, they have to get pollinated, develop their seed, and then they'll drop their seed. And it wouldn't be really until next spring that they start to create that tuft of greenery. So by sowing seed right now, it kind of jump starts that. They're started now, they'll begin the root and greenery growth this season, and they'll overwinter, and then it'll think that it had been a whole cycle already, and then next season they'll send up bloom spikes. The reason these biennials are really important to me is partly just because I love flowers. The other reason is that they sort of fill the gap. If you've noticed in the last few weeks, besides the fact that I haven't had a lot of videos because I just haven't had a lot of flowers, that between the ranunculus and the tulips finishing up, and then before the summer annuals come on, now is the time that the biennials are blooming. All the sweet rocket is blooming. The Canterbury bells that I have out there right now, they're blooming. I have Sweet William blooming, that's another good one, and I have foxglove that are blooming, obviously. The goal of these flowers, for me anyways, is to kind of span that gap. And they mix with some perennial flowers and some plants like the roses will start blooming early. The goal is to have a continuous run of flowers all season long and not have to miss chunks of the season because I don't have anything growing. I did a decent job of it last year. I've got a good amount of, I have a good amount of Sweet Rocket and Canterbury Bells and all of that blooming now. However, the weather this season has been so chaotic that I'm struggling pretty much across the board with everything. These cool season sort of flowers have bloomed out too fast because it got up to 85 really quick, and the heat lovers haven't had it wasn't a slow long enough heat up, so it hasn't been a sustained heat up long enough for them to really get up and going. So I have this gap. So it's a perfect time for me right now to sow all these biennials and get them going. Like I said, the goal is to have flowers all season long from the very early parts of spring with the daffodils. I'm not going to have tulips next year, but the ranunculus and the anemone are one of the very first things to actually bloom. And then it'll go in through everything else. All of the different bulbs, the alliums, the lilies are just coming on. But these Canterbury bells should, hopefully, if the weather cooperates, sort of span that gap. There's nothing really different about sowing seeds for biennials than there is for anything else. The one thing to keep in note is that right now, because it's so warm and it's heading into the heat of summer, that I'm not going to keep them in my greenhouse because it's just going to get way too hot in there. They don't want to be that hot ever. They do prefer it to be on the cooler side. So while I can't completely prevent hot days in this zone where we're at, it generally stays in the summertime between 70 and 80. That's usually where we land, and it cools off every night and it takes a while to heat up. So for the most part, these will be okay as long as they're out here. So I'm going to grow them on tables out here underneath of the cover of the porch. So they'll still get protected if we have rainstorms or wind, but they will not get the heat that the greenhouse is currently experiencing. The Canterbury bells, these guys need light to grow, so they will just be placed on top of the soil. I'll keep them moist. I'll put a dome over the top of them while they germinate. The Sweet Rocket, this is in the brassica family, so I'm going to cover all these seeds just barely with some soil. I'll just make little holes, fill in with the seeds, and then cover them back over. And then also with the kale, they're obviously also in a brassica family, and these guys all bury about 1/4 inch deep in all the trays. Same thing with everything else. They're all going to get domes, and then I'll put them on a table out here and just keep an eye on them and make sure that they germinate. It always seems strange this time of year while I'm still waiting for my summer annuals to bloom that I'm starting seed for the following season. But it just reminds me that it's a cycle. And every year, all times a year, plants and seeds are being sown and germinating and growing. The only time of year that I'm really not planting anything is late fall, early spring, or late fall into winter. Otherwise, I'll be planting seeds all the way up into the fall with my hardy annuals. Those will be going into the ground in probably September. And as early as December, I will be starting seeds for next season in the greenhouse. So it's just an ongoing thing. Right now, the seed starting is a lot lighter, obviously, because we have thousands of seedlings already out there and growing, but it's still to be done, which it still makes me happy. Okay, so I'm just gonna set up the camera, get all these sown, and then get them placed so that they're in a good spot for germination. I do want to give you a little update. I sowed some more sunflowers the other day, and it's only been a couple days, and some of them have already started sprouting. Okay. Canterbury bells. These come in these little vials because the seed are so tiny, but can you see the yellow? They also come pelleted. so that they're easy to see. There's actually 50 seeds in that little tiny bit. It's only going to be half a tray of each color for these. The thing about pelleted seeds is that you really need to use them the same season, because the clay that they use to pelletize them will degrade the shelf life of the seed. So don't order a whole bunch expecting you're going to have extra for the following season, because they just won't keep. I'm going to do my best to put one in each and then come back with any extra to give myself better chances of germination. Give a few extra. Okay, and then I will just tamp those in there. Make sure they have good contact with the soil. It's light, so don't bury them. Let's see if this is ready. That's the thing. Okay, these are all done. As you can see, all these guys are set in here. I did want to show you this. I just started these seeds a couple of days ago, and because it's been so warm, they've already germinated. I probably have one, maybe two more successions of sunflowers to go. So like I said before, the greenhouse is too hot, so we're gonna grow the seedlings up here underneath the porch. It's got the cover, it'll be pretty secure from the wind, it'll get all the light that it needs. But the whole point of growing the kale is to have blooms at the end of the season, and the biennials is to have blooms in that gap period in between the early spring blooms and then the late or the early heat-loving annuals. So cross your fingers. Every year we keep trying to get a little better, and every year we get closer on some things, a little worse on others, but it's a never-ending learning curve, and it will continue to teach patience to any farmer or gardener out in the world. Okay, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that it was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.